Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Bruce McDonald, and this is, of course, the Telemaker Review. It's Thursday, the 27th of August, 7:19 p.m. And again, I think I'm just going to talk. And when I do a podcast like this, I really have no idea where it's going to go. I want to begin by saying that I strongly advise all of you maintain a daily spiritual practice in whatever capacity you can. Okay? If it's 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening, and that's all you can do, then so be it. But don't miss a day. If you can do more, do more. You could say that in a sense that we're in a battle for the Spiritus Mundi, the collective consciousness. And in the typical form of the inversion that dominates our time, cultivated by some very clever people who have ritually managed to invert the whole world, we have been led to believe that the impact we make upon the world is how we get out there and represent our ideas and go to demonstrations, maybe get shot or run over by ice, or have a big mouth and give your opinion everywhere, like a Bill Maher on Real Time with Bill Maher, who I do enjoy from time to time, or all of these paid shills and soulless ghouls that populate the anchor desks on the news shows. Those are completely compromised human beings. They may as well be the Western equivalent of Pravda at this point. Or even worse, actually. So we're in a full inversion now. And I think this was the goal. I think this was the goal beginning with Sabbatai Levi, was to twist and pervert the world into what they call the upside down in Stranger Things, which, by the way, is a highly occult literate TV show. And I'm not sure if it's those two brothers who are occult literate or they just came up with the idea, and occult literate Netflix editors and writing assistants came in and propped them up. But that's an incredibly occult literate TV show, except it itself is inverted. The upside down is the world we're living in, not the world they went to. You understand? So they upside downed the upside down. It almost gets comical at a certain point when you're spiritually literate. So if we're in the inversion and going out and fighting and getting possessed by rage and probably getting into street fights at this point because that's how violent it is, what can you do? Well, as I say, flip it 180 degrees. The greatest contribution you can make to this time is to achieve peace within yourself and a connection with God, source, divine, nirvana. If you don't like any word there that denotes some anthropomorphized entity, as God often does, if you just want it to be the peace of nirvana or enlightenment in the Buddhist sense, then that's good enough. I'm not here to argue about any of that stuff. That's really what they're playing on at this moment in history. They're playing on all those fixed points in culture. And this whole thing is a spiritual test. And the answer to the quiz, the answer to the question is withdraw, don't engage. It's the opposite of what most people think. Because the riddle is spiritual. Because this hologram was created by agents of the divine to train souls. And when you're trained enough, you can, and training is experience, by the way. I don't mean training in the military sense or training to be a nurse or a doctor or an accountant. I mean, the perception is trained, the soul is trained to the point where you realize the only solution to everything here is love, is life, is God. You know who absolutely nailed this in the most unique way in my generation? Harold Ramis, of all people, the comedy writer and a former staffer on a Canadian sitcom, or not a sitcom, but a Canadian sketch comedy show called Second City. And it launched a lot of big careers. Martin Short, Rick Moranis, John Candy, Eugene Levy, a lot of people. And Harold Ramis started there as well. And Ramis did this film, I think it was in the 90s, with Bill Murray, called Groundhog Day. And it is the most Buddhist story you'll ever see in your life. If Mel Gibson is the champion of the Christian story in filmmaking, Harold Ramis is the champion of Buddhism in filmmaking. And if you haven't seen the movie, it's about this guy who goes to a small town in Pennsylvania. He's an arrogant, overpaid newscaster, a big city anchor, a bit of a celebrity in the Ron Burgundy sense, from Anchorman. And he goes to this city to cover whether spring is coming by whether or not this gopher that comes up this day can see its shadow. And through some freak of metaphysics, he gets trapped in the same day. So every day he wakes up, he can't leave after the newscast because I think, if I remember correctly, a snowstorm comes in and he and his crew have to stay in this little town, Paxawana, I think it's called. And the gopher was called Paxawana Phil. So he stays in this hotel, and every morning he wakes up, it's the same day he came to the town to do the newscast. And all the details of the day are the same. He bumps into the same people on the street. He sees the same things happen every day. Fender benders on the street. And throughout the course of the movie, he goes through many repetitions of this day. He tries everything. He tries killing himself. It doesn't work. He wakes up the next morning. And then finally, he just completely surrenders and says, I can't get out of this time loop. And I mean, he does everything. He indulges every fantasy he has in this time loop and the knowledge leverage it gives him about what's going to happen on that day. Right? He uses it to seduce women. He eats whatever he wants, smokes like a fiend, gets drunk, does all kinds of stuff. And when he realizes he can't escape this time loop, he becomes suicidal, but he can't kill himself. And so finally he comes to the point where the only useful thing he can do is be of complete service to other people and make their day a little bit better. And when he finally figures that out, the time loop breaks. And the Groundhog Day, the repeating day, ends. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, this inversion we're in now, there's a lot of magic that's gone into this. I'm taking a little bit of energy directed my way, negative energy. I have a pretty good idea of where it's coming from. And I myself had to do some deliberate spiritual exercises today to repel this energy. And immediately when I did it, a whole bunch of things cleared up for me. So it's my belief that we're in a much higher frequency already. And the distortions in our fields are the parts of ourselves that are not resonating with this rising frequency. And the people who can't handle it at all are kind of going crazy. And that's a lot of the population. A lot of them are just going straight up crazy now. So getting back to my own story, I haven't talked about it much lately, but this tribulation that started in the last week of June. So it's been like 2 moons now, 56 days, right? 28 and 28. It hasn't really ended. I think it's over now. But the final part was for me to realize there was a little bit more than just the tribulation, just the astrology, and that something was directly focused on me. And then once I cleared that up, wow, everything fell into place, But I just, stopped giving you details on the Talamanca review because I don't want to bore you and I don't want to make it all about me. But literally everything that could go wrong went wrong. So on July 31st, my computer security was hacked. Reddit was compromised, Instagram was compromised, and LinkedIn was compromised. The LinkedIn kicked me off for obscene content. I don't even know what the content was. And I had to shut down my bank card, my bank account, because when your debit card has been breached and people are using it to buy things, the only solution is to shut it down. And my Canadian bank has a service where if there's a customer abroad, they will courier a new card to you. And keeping with this theme of everything that can go wrong will go wrong, I was not given a tracking number. Oh, my number one fan's here. Hang on a sec. There you go. So I was not given a tracking number. And I called actually and pointed that out. And the service desk had to connect to another service desk and put in a request to send me a tracking number. And it turns out that the package came in on Monday of this week, and they couldn't figure out what the address directions, which were completely clear for Costa Rica. And this was the central sorting and processing center in Costa Rica, in San Jose. And so they sent it back to Canada. They returned to sender because my bank had not given them my contact number, my WhatsApp number, or my email, or the tracking number on the package. I cannot begin to tell you how zen I have had to be, for the last month, not to react to this stuff. The me of 10 years ago would be punching walls and screaming at the sky in pure Scottish profanity. But I handled this one pretty well. And I realized today that, and then I needed to get the LinkedIn account open because I'm communicating with somebody who has more of this specialized writing work than I do for me. And we had been communicating through LinkedIn Messenger. So being off Messenger for a month, I'm thinking to myself, I wonder if I lost this opportunity. So I sent 2 messages to LinkedIn support. They have a form you fill in, and they know it's you because you put your email address, and that's the email address associated with the account. And I told them the same thing 3 times. It took 3 weeks just to get this problem solved. And today I finally, after doing this revocation, I sent them another email and it was resolved in 2 hours and I have my LinkedIn account back. And then I was on 3 hours yesterday with the support department at my bank. Not the first level, the third level. So I got it assigned a case number. It got assigned to what's called a resolution manager. I was given that person's phone number so I could call them. And they were taking it very seriously. And so the bank card's on its way back to Costa Rica. And they're going to send it to the closest DHL processing center to my house, which is about 30 minutes away in a city called Limon. But I got to tell you, it's been a real trial. And I wonder if you folks are going through the same thing, you know? And I'm starting to think that I'm on something's radar now, you know? And I had this extremely disturbing realization today. I realized that when this AI comes in, the way they're going to be able to gaslight people is mind-boggling. They're going to drive people to absolute insanity. They're going to be able to go right into people's emails. They're going to be able to change messages in transit to confuse people. They're going to be able to access anything you have online. So let's say you end up on somebody's shit list and you're deemed some kind of menace to society. My number 1 fan wants out again. I got going on here, buddy. Don't come back. Well, it used to be when stuff like that would happen, they had ways of dealing with it, right? But I would say right up to the Men in Black. And I'll only point out again some of the things that I've made clear on the Talamanca Reveal. And I'm not making conclusions. I'm just giving you information so you can think and I wouldn't say think, but contemplate or dream more lucidly about the problem, and maybe your spirit will give you an answer through awakened imagination, because nobody can answer these questions for you. And you shouldn't be allowing anybody to answer these questions for you, because these questions are too important to be left just to duck walking conformity. You know, if the people on, let's say, the light side of what's going on now, light and darkness, if the people on the light side were able to take over all the sleepwalkers, all the non-playing characters, and win them over to their side because they created a conformity momentum, society would be just as screwed as it is now under the stewardship of the Satanists. This is about awakening now. Okay, it's about awakening. 6 out of 7, 6 out of 7, 6 out of 7. Okay, what that means is 6 out of 7 of the people on the planet right now are not going to make it. Let that sink in. So the producers and directors of this hologram on the other side, they're sending very direct messages in now. And it's not that the whole drama is going to end. It's just going to change in such an abrupt way that if you're not prepared for it and you can't psychologically survive it, it's probably better you die anyways. So I'll try to pepper the podcast with things I've said in the past to bring them into context to what I'm saying today. So we live in a reality field. You can call it a realm, you can call it a dimension, you can call it whatever you want. It's a reality field. It's a field of reality. It's a vibrational field that is consistent for everyone at a sense mind level who's incarnated. The wind is the wind, the rain is the rain, the winter is the winter, the summer is the summer, a man is a man, a woman is a woman, a car is a car. We have a common and shared reality, right? Not that hard to understand. I don't think anybody would debate that. But how do you characterize this reality in context to what I wrote in Stardust Ranch, where the Greys could just like literally pull it back like a shower curtain and peek their heads through before they manifested in this 3D? Where are they coming from? This is what I mean by we live in a reality field. And your inner life, once it develops and once you have awakened imagination and once you have contact with the Holy Spirit, it becomes much more real. It is way more real than your physical life. This is what the Christ was trying to tell us. And so we go through these lesson cycles. I don't know the whole astrology of them. Better off talking to somebody like Robert Phoenix about that stuff. You know, I don't understand the show schedules. I don't understand when they pack up the circus and put it on the train and we go into a new epoch. Cyclically or numerically, I don't understand it because I've never looked into it. I'm not that interested. The spiritual principle is you just need to come to understand or come to realize that we are living in these cycles. And they're tying one off now. I don't know whether it's the age of Pisces or bigger than that, but they're tying off one of these cycles now. If you can't see that now, keep trying. But the reality of it is going to come from inside you. It's not going to come from listening to more podcasts and reading more news. That's the trap. That's the inversion. It's going to come through a realization, and that can only come from within you. And that's why you need to spend time inside yourself, however you choose to do it. Prayer? At this point, who cares? Whatever gets you inside yourself communicating with the things on the other side that are assigned to help you. And we all have things assigned to help us. Oh, Ron Patton just died. Wow. Okay. That Ground Zero crew is getting wiped out. I mean, Clyde Lewis was in the hospital. See, a lot of people are going through profound trials now. You're going to have to be physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually pretty tight to make it through what's coming, to be one of the 1 of 7. Okay? 1 of 7. Now, I sometimes wonder to myself whether these podcasts are too intense, whether I'm saying too much. I don't think so. And it really, what I figured out is it really doesn't matter. You're either going to get it or you're not going to get it. And if you're not going to get it, I'm not saying too much. So what does it matter? But for those of you who can make it, I definitely want to throw a lifeline out and say, hey, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to realize. You got to transcend this whole notion of good and evil. Get over it. Get over it. Yeah, they're Satanists. Yeah, Hillary Clinton eats babies. Yeah, she tears the faces off children to terrorize them so she can get high quality adrenochrome. Get over it. Get over it. It's all permissible in this hologram. Wouldn't be happening if God did not allow it. You see, we don't really know what's going on here. Some of us have a better idea than others, but it's a learning system. It's a hologram. It's a learning system. And what is being trained is the perception. It's the soul. It's not the mind. It's, it's the soul, which is our base perception behind everything, behind even our unconscious. That's just another aspect of the mind. The soul is the pure perception. You could turn the lights off in your room and put a candle on the coffee table and just sit on a sofa and have the candle 3 feet away and just stare at the flame until you stop thinking, until you just go completely blank. And the thing left, seeing the candle, is soul. It's your base perception. And it's when we achieve that base perception that new information can come into our consciousness, that our imagination, our spirit can awaken and give us information through symbolic languages, images, dreams. But when the soul's all locked away, it doesn't work. You end up just watching the same episodes over and over again. You just keep recycling everything over and over again, like Groundhog Day. So you got to get to that point of clarity. So the best thing you can do for yourself and for the world is to go within now. If you're older and retired, do way more than 15 minutes a day. And I know I've gotten into a lot of trouble saying this before to people who listen to the Talamanca review. I've lost friends or listeners. And no, it's not the baby boomer thing. But sometimes I'll get to know somebody off air and I'll find out that they're getting loaded 3, 4 nights a week, like ripping drunk. And after a couple months of talking to them and figuring it out, I say, hey, you got to stop drinking like this. And they get all angry at me and they stop talking to me. And they cancel their subscriptions. Because that's their sacred thing, man. That's how they're coping with what's going on. They can't cope with it. They got to get drunk or high all the time. You got to clean up all those bad habits. Right? You got to go through this sober. You're not going to hit the realization unless you're sober. So start cleaning yourselves up. But when you start to sit still and start to perceive what's going on around you correctly, your first reaction is going to be absolute horror. Because it is a horror show what's going on now. It's mass depopulation. It's, what did I call it in that trilogy of podcasts? Defilement, degradation, and I forget what the third one was, but yeah, decimation. Defilement, Degradation and decimation is the final stage. It's a satanic ritual of destruction. And they're allowed to do it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. Your first clue that something is allowed is it's happening. Because remember, God is everything. God is in every single molecule, atom, and subatomic particle, and into fragments of reality that we don't even have the ability to measure yet, scientifically. God is everything. Everything is God. We're literally living inside the mind and body of God. And so if it's happening, it's allowed. And then you got to figure out, well, why is this being allowed? And that's when you come to a more mature understanding of our Creator. And for some people, that will be a very sobering moment when they realize how much time they've wasted in this lifetime. And if you were born in the first world, you had way more time than most people to spiritually develop. You were fed well, you were sheltered, you had hot water every day. Look, not everybody in the world has that. And you had the ability to work on yourself and grow. And you didn't. Oh, my number one fan's back again. Hey, buddy, make up your mind, eh? So, yeah. So, again, everything is inverted. The truth is within you, not outside in a political process. It's not in the theater of Donald Trump or Zelensky or Mark Carney in Canada. It's not in any of this political theater. Literally everything going on is a distraction now. And they want to get you captured in a state of panic that prevents you from successfully going into yourself, right? It's like a psychic spider's web. You can't get out of it. You know who you are. You know, those of you listening right now, you know if you're in that spider web. You're doom scrolling, you're doing all this crazy shit, and you can't get out of it, right? Nothing's going to stop what's coming now. I'm Bruce McDonald, and this has been the Talamanca Review.